Hello and welcome to our new episodes in which we're going to be asking the midwives, and we've got the amazing Leonie and Tess from Your Neighbourhood Midwives, and you can find out more about them because we're going to be sharing the link below. But in these episodes we're going to be sharing your questions and Leonie and Tess are going to be answering them. So we've got 3 questions.
Okay.
First question for our lovely midwives is: how do you respectfully say no to your healthcare providers or have respectful conversations if you're offered something and you want to find out more, or you decide you don't want it? What would you do?
I think the first thing to think about is, you said if you're offered something, and the first thing to be aware of is terminology and what terminology is being used to you, because when healthcare providers are talking to you about an option for your care, it's often not presented as that. It's presented as, right, so now we're going to book you in for an induction in 2 weeks from today. Is that okay? And it doesn't sound like it's an option.
Yeah.
So you have to be very aware of what people are saying to you and how they are presenting it, so that you know what your options are. And if you're not sure, ask.
Yeah, and it also depends on when you're being offered it, because if you're being offered it in an antenatal clinic or an appointment with your midwife or your consultant, you can often say to them, thanks very much for the information, I'm going to go away and think about it, can I have booking another appointment later on? You don't have to make a decision right there and then. But for example, if you're in labour and decisions do need to be made a little bit quicker, you can still ask for time, and you can ask people to step out of the room. So you can thank them for the information, make sure that you understand what the recommendation is or what they're asking you to do or what you want them.
Yeah, and also you can, and people don't realise this often, like Leonie says, ask for time. If it's a case that there is no time, you have to make a decision right now. The doctors or the midwives are not going to go, oh, okay, we'll just leave you to it and we'll be back in an hour. They're going to say, no, we need to know and we need a decision now. But 99 times out of 100, you can say, can we just have 5 minutes together, please, to consider it, and then we'll let you know our decision. Our decision, yeah.
Because it is your decision, and that's the point. You must be empowered to know that it's your choice and nobody can do anything to you without your consent and without you making that choice yourself.
Yeah.
And that's really important, that it is your decision. But I know sometimes, like you said, it doesn't always feel like there's that time or that it is your decision. So if your decision is no to a recommendation, how can you, or how would you advise people to maybe respectfully be able to communicate that no, especially if it feels like they feel they've said no and maybe they're asked again, or they're being encouraged?
It's the coercion part of the whole argument. And it often happens, it's, someone would have an expectation from you that you're going to go along with the recommendation because, of course, they are the doctors or the hospital, or it fits in with their institute.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for us, a lot of the time it's thank you again, but we've said no, and they might ask you in a different way, or they might say, so when are we going to do this? You can say, look, we've made our decision, please document in the notes that we've declined or we've decided against this or we've asked for more time. Have it documented, because they're trying to cover themselves a lot of the time because we're in a system of fear and litigation.
And what a lot of people don't realise is that hospitals do have an insurance system, and the hospitals are answerable to their insurance providers. So they have to be able to say, look, we offered them all the options that we think is best for them. They've declined. So they are, as Leonie says, often trying to cover themselves to make sure that their insurance is happy.
Yeah, and they feel like it's often not done unkindly. It's more so that they want to feel they're offering the safest option for you, but it might not be the best option for you. And the other thing you can say is, look, I've already answered this question, please document that decline. Unless anything clinically changes and there's anything different, please don't ask me again. And it gives you that sort of comeback, and so that they are aware, and hopefully they stop asking.
It's just a case of thank you, we've considered your recommendations, but for whatever reasons we would like to decline what you're offering us. It's as simple as that. You don't have to be rude, it's not aggressive, it's a choice you're being asked to make. You've made it,
with all the information. And if
Yeah.
you haven't got the information, then you can ask for it.
Yeah.
You can ask for the evidence behind it. You can ask for the rationale as to
Yeah.
why they're recommending it. And sometimes it's a good recommendation and it's
Yeah.
worth considering.
Yeah.
But if it's not for you, then it's you're easy. And also, you can decline something and 10 minutes later change your mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's okay.
And you can also, if you want to, you can say, thank you, we don't want to go down that path, or we don't want to take that recommendation. What else can you suggest? What can you
Yeah.
suggest
Well,
as
the
an
alternative.
alternative?
Yeah.
The alternatives. In hypnobirthing courses and track birth courses, we look at the brain,
Yes.
Yeah.
the benefits,
Yes.
the risks, the alternatives,
Benefits.
and the
Intuition.
intuition,
Yeah.
and what if you do nothing.
Nothing.
And that
Yeah.
can be a really useful kind of resource to just go through those questions so you get all the information that you need to make a decision that feels right for you at the time. And as you said, Leonie, you can change your mind. And as you said, Tess, actually you can take your time. You know, there's always 30 seconds, there's always a minute
Yes.
for you to be able to think through and ask.
Yeah. And
what you
often they will give you the parameters. If you know, as I said, if it's an urgent situation, you say, can we have 5 minutes? They may say, no, we can give you 30 seconds, but that's it. But as I said, 9 times out of 10.
And you can always push back against that as well.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, as a birth partner, because obviously if you're the woman in labour,
Yeah.
your brain is not functioning in that capacity. You need to be just concentrating on what your body is doing. But your birth partner can be asking those questions, and it may well be worth even just jotting down on a small card just the word brain, so that it reminds you of what
Yes.
to ask. So you've got something, a tool at your disposal that you're not.
Brilliant. And actually, you've just made me think of this. We've got a downloadable resource sheet which gives some of these tools. So what I'll do is I'll put the link for that under here as well. So some of these things like the brain questions and stuff will be downloadable after as well.
Excellent.
Amazing. So I'm just going to do a quick recap.
Amazing. We are amazing.
They
We
are
are.
amazing. So you can ask the questions you need to. If you're pregnant, you can go away, think about it, and then come back. If you're in a birth situation, whether you're a birth partner or hopefully it's a birth partner asking, because if you are birthing, you want to be staying in your bubble, you can ask for some time. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, the time that's available to you. You can say no. And if you feel like this is a persistent question, you can let them know that you have said no, and they can document your no so that everyone feels that they are on the same page.
Perfect.
Lovely. Thank you very much. So, question 2. Question 2 is, can anybody have a water birth?
As long as you've got a pool.
Probably not cats. Cats can't do in a water birth, no.
But generally, I mean, again, it would depend on specific circumstances. If you were hoping for an epidural, then water birth is probably not a good option to go alongside that.
No.
But if you're looking to keep it a low risk, low key, very gentle, relaxed environment, and you've done a risk assessment with your midwife or your obstetrician, and again, it's going back to getting information.
Yes.
It's about understanding if the recommendation isn't to have a water birth, but you still want one, why that recommendation is,
Yeah.
what the
Risks.
risks are, what the specific risks to you, not the general population, but you specifically.
In your circumstances.
Exactly, and also, is there a compromise that could potentially be made? So we know that, and we've had clients before who've opted for a water birth, but the recommendation isn't for them to give birth in the pool because of
So they labour in water,
Yeah.
but get out for giving birth.
birth. And again, that's down to choice. So the conversation was had, the risks were discussed, and the decision for her was that she would actually get out of the pool because for her it worked.
Yes.
But she was of the understanding that actually if she chose not to, that wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yes.
I think if you have a low risk pregnancy and there are no health issues in your pregnancy, then yes, absolutely, you can have you can opt to labour in water, give birth in water, whatever it is you want to do, as long as everything is well, your blood pressure is fine, and everything stays well with you and the baby throughout the labour. If you have any kind of health conditions, if you've been told no, if you're being discouraged, then like Leonie says, I would suggest asking for an appointment with your either your community midwife or your midwife you see antenatally, or your consultant midwife at your hospital to do some more detailed birth planning. and to find out exactly why it is you've been told no or been recommended against it, and whether there's anything you can do to mitigate that. Quite often consultant midwives, I think, are quite underused, especially for birth planning, especially with women who have health issues or complex pregnancies.
Go outside of the normal guidelines.
Yeah, it's okay to go outside of the normal guidelines as long as there's a plan, and most units are quite happy, or not quite happy, but are willing to do that and to meet you, more than halfway often, as long as there's a plan in place.
And that's really useful to know, isn't it? Because I think sometimes when we are on this side of the birthing process and someone says you can't have something, that just feels like a blanket no. But actually it's about dissecting what their reasoning is and what the alternatives are. Because sometimes that isn't actually a no, it's the guidelines suggest. And if you understand why the guidelines are suggesting that, what that's about, you might actually find there are ways of getting the support you want, or getting the sort of tool that you want to use.
Yeah, negotiating round it.
Absolutely. And also guidelines are just there as guidelines. They're general, and everyone has an individual circumstance as well, don't they?
We always say the big question is why. Know why. Know why you're being told yes you can do this, or no you can't do it, or we're recommending this course of action. And if you know why, you can work from there to create a plan that works for you and works for your caregivers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the short answer, yes.
Yes. Go for it. Do it in the pool.
And ask to speak to a consultant midwife if you've got questions around any kind of opinions or decisions that have been given to you already.
Oh, but don't get in the pool with the TENS machine on.
Yes.
Don't do that. You don't want to go there.
I actually have one quick second question around this, which is a lot of people feel that if they've been offered continuous monitoring, that means they can't use the water. Now, there are a few things I've heard of around this space, and I just want to kind of hear, some of your wisdom with this.
It comes down to units, doesn't it? It comes down to your local trust units and whether they have the equipment to facilitate this.
And your own wishes.
Yeah.
So a lot of units now, and certainly, I mean, we're South London based, and certainly most of the units, all of the units around us have
You're thinking telemetry?
Yes, telemetry. That's
whether
exactly
it works or not is another story.
Have telemetry, which is continuous monitoring that can be used in a pool. You're not wired up. It's wireless. Yeah, as Leonie says, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it can't always be found.
Or they find one half and not the other half, or it's in use at the time when you want it because there's only one available. So it does come down to what's kind of available in your unit. But there are lots of kind of ways around it. So you could opt for not having continuous monitoring and ask for intermittent if there's not a valid reason for you specifically not to have it.
Yeah, if it's just part of the hospital policy or
guidelines.
Yeah.
You can opt against it. You could opt for a CTG out of the pool for 20 minutes for reassurance to say this is a normal trace, everything's well, and then opt for intermittent auscultation, which is listening with the sonic aid every 15 minutes.
With a low threshold to
go back to CTG
should there be any issues.
So you have all the power.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah, and again, it's about negotiating around to get something that works for you and for your caregiver, so that everybody is happy and everybody knows what the plan is.
And do it earlier on rather than later. Don't wait till you're sort of 40 weeks and then trying to have this conversation, because you come up against
36 weeks is the ideal time to get this sorted and get it
really
really nailed.
Have a conversation earlier.
If
you know, like for example, you've had a cesarean before but you want a water birth this time, actually that's the time that when you go and see your consultant midwife at 30 weeks, so that you know that what they're thinking of planning, and then you can revisit again at 36, so that you've got this kind of constant backup saying, I've seen these people, I've had the conversations, I've looked at the evidence, I still want the same thing.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Welcome.
You're welcome.
So in answer
do we get points for this?
I think so. I'm on 20.
I do have some gold
Well,
stars.
then I'm on 20.
Love a gold star.
So if you want a water birth and you're not sure, then in short answer, yes, most people can, and you can speak to a consultant midwife and think about your birth planning earlier. So talk to your caregivers about your birth planning and revisit it, and ask questions. If you're given a recommendation or suggestion that you don't, ask questions as to why. Brilliant. So, third and final question. It feels a little bit like
Dun, dun,
question time or
dun.
mastermind,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Hands on the buzzers.
Your answer for 10.
Question 3. Vaginal examinations. Now, I know this comes up a lot and there's a lot of talk around this, but vaginal examinations, if you opt to decline vaginal examinations through your labour, but you still want to know that you want that reassurance that things are going well, what are the other ways that you can see that labour, a physiological labour, is progressing without having vaginal examinations?
I think the word I want to pick up on there, what are the other ways that you can see? I think in labour, it's hard for women with or without vaginal examinations to get a sense of where they are and what's going on. They're relying on feedback from the people around them, from their birth partner, who's probably also relying on feedback from the midwives, and that's really where we come into our own. So if a woman is not having vaginal examinations, we as midwives are relying on just watching her behaviour, looking at what she's doing, listening to the sound she's making, looking at what she's doing with hands and feet. Often as a woman approaches fully dilated, her toes curl and her fingers, you know, she starts almost like a cat, really. You know, and cats do that.
Tiptoeing.
Yes,
when women go up, go up quite high on their tiptoes, and they kind of almost trying to get away from things, or they start squatting.
Yes,
getting down low.
Downward bearing.
Yes. I mean, there is some women have as the baby moves down into the pelvis and the pelvis kind of widens to accommodate the baby, a sort of dark blue line starts to appear from the kind of the butt cheek crack that starts to go up, and that can be a way of monitoring.
We can see the back start to flatten out a lot, so that kind of shows that the pelvis is opening and everything's flattening. If you start pooing, I'm really sorry, I'm going to put it out there.
We love that.
We love poo.
Yeah,
we do like a bit of poo.
Or when women go, oh, I need a poo. It's not a poo you need, it's a baby. Okay, that's what's coming down. And again, we love that. We get all excited.
But the other thing to be told is, and to say about this is, often if you say and you're in labour and you're kind of thinking, you go to the midwife, I need a poo, and they go, oh no, you can't go to the toilet. You absolutely can go to the toilet. Absolutely, go and have a sit. You might actually do need a poo, and that's okay. And if you feel a baby coming, just kind of catch it. Don't let it go down the loo. So there's those sorts of things.
It's not going to go down the loo. Don't worry, it's not going to go down the loo. But and in fact, sitting on the loo is often
helps open everything.
Psychologically, women, you know, because you're used to releasing, you know, everything, your pelvic floor and everything that kind of goes along with it when you're sitting on the loo. Psychologically, it can help. And the other, we mentioned the noises, mooing. That's good.
Nice.
Yeah, we like to hear that bit of mooing.
And the other thing you tend to do, you get to that point, is you go, you kind of check. It's that transition period as well that we can see. So your attitude changes. We'll often find that women can be quite chatty in labour and can lure us into a false sense of security between the things. And that's kind of normal. But at that point where the baby's coming, you stop becoming, so your behaviour changes slightly.
Yes, it does.
You become less chatty, or what you found funny 10 minutes ago is not funny suddenly. Or you say, I want to go home, or I want to go to hospital, or suddenly you desperately need an epidural. So your kind of birth plan sort of goes out of the window a little bit. For some people it continues, but and not everyone is the same. So not all women respond the same way. So
and we talk about that actually in hypnobirthing courses, because during transition you get the natural sort of surge of adrenaline, which is giving your body the energy, and of course with that adrenaline you get a little bit of the psychological. I think about 70% of women get a bit of a psychological impact of that, where a little bit more perhaps of fear comes in, or you start to feel like you're losing your birthing zone a little bit as you go more into it.
I had one woman once who grabbed me by the collar and went, "Help me!" No, I am helping you. She went, "Oh." Clearly, I wasn't helping her in the right way.
No,
but
So Yeah, there are lots of things you can look out for, and you don't have to have. I mean, baby's head coming out is often a really good indication that the labour's going
That's
well.
a very good one. Yeah, that's a very good one.
And you don't need an examination at that point to check.
No.
And actually, you can also get, some people call it the ring of fire, don't they? Or that kind of tingling, which is just as everything is stretching out, it feels like your skin's being pulled, you get that bit of skin burn sort of feeling.
Yeah.
That can be a really good sign.
Absolutely. Another thing as well, sometimes if you're unsure whether you don't need to have someone else do a vaginal examination, you can feel yourself. So if you're unsure and you think something's coming and you're not sure if it's there or not, you can reach down. Some people it's not their thing and that's fine, but some people like to feel, and it actually can be reassuring when you do find a head there.
Yes, and you know that actually this is all going the way you hoped it would go,
as long as it is a head
or a bottom.
That's a whole other podcast.
That is totally.
Not podcast.
Episode.
Amazing. Is there anything else you would like to
I think the lastly for me the thing to say is it is your choice. It's your choice. If you feel that you'd be uncomfortable having vaginal examinations, a simple no is
go back to the first
enough.
part of this. Rewind. Press play at the beginning and learn how to.
It's your body. It's your vagina. If you don't want, strangers or other people putting their fingers in there, just no. And it's up to them. It's up to us as midwives to find other ways to look after you, to assess how far you are in labour. It's not something you need to worry about. It's for us to worry about.
Absolutely.
And there are other ways. It's not essential.
Completely.
Brilliant. I don't think I can add anything to that. But essentially, there are many ways from seeing the line, the purple line, to the kind of sounds you're making, the body, the changes in the body, some of the sort of things you might be vocalising, and it's probably not something you will notice when you're in it, because when you're in it, you are in it and you're going moment to moment. So this is the stuff that either your birth partners will see or your midwives and those caring for you will be able to see. So that's our 3 questions for this one, but I want to say a massive thank you.
Thank you for having us.
You can thank us with gold stars.
Gold
With
stars.
the stars I was promised. I'm out here.
Or chocolate.
No, not chocolate.
And I also want to
stars.
say that
Both.
if you are looking at your care and you are pregnant and you're thinking about how you're going to be cared for during your birth, you can work with Leonie and Tess. They are independent midwives, so they can work with you anywhere. I mean, if you're sort of London based or sort of South based,
South London.
But they are people that you can work with, and you can also reach out to them through their social media and their website as well if you want to get in touch with them, and we will put those links.
And we have a new package coming soon. The Ask the Midwife package. So if you don't feel like you're getting the kind of information that you need, or you've got those niggly questions that you don't have time within your antenatal appointments because they're 15 minutes long, then we do an Ask the Midwife package as part of our thing. So check that out.
So there are lots of ways. So even if you're not looking for full care through your whole pregnancy birth journey, there are still ways that you can get that care and that support. And I also want to say that we're going to be putting this on here, obviously on YouTube, but it's also going to be on our website. So if you've got thoughts about any of the 3 questions we've shared today, please comment below. And if you've got questions you want to ask Leonie and Tess, then please let us know, and you can either put them in the comments or you can ping us an email or find us on social media. We're at Tranquil Birth and we're at Your Neighbourhood Midwives.
We are your neighbourhood midwives.
And I think that's the perfect place to say goodbye. So thanks so much.
Bye.
We'll see you next time.